Hey guys, welcome to Split. Today we are looking at the PSVR 2, the sequel, almost 7 years after the PSVR 1. It was just called the PSVR, there was no 1. And this version aims to take it to the next level of immersive VR gaming across platforms. It hopes to take the lead, period. Let's see if that's true. Let's get into it. Okay, let's see what's in the box, what does it come with, and then we'll go from there. So as usual, PlayStation has a box in a box for some reason. I don't know why that is. I guess maybe when you send it out to retail, they tend to get it dirty. So the sleeve sort of protects it. It literally is a sleeve. Pristine white box on the inside. PlayStation logo, of course. So when we pop it open, we find that there is 2 compartments. One with the most important thing, the manual. And then there are, I think these are headphones. So that's the difference. These come with headphones, right? The first one did come with headphones. They come with headphones that attach to the headset directly. See, it's weird. You're not gonna wear it around your neck. They go around the base of the headset. I'll show you that later. It's a 3.5mm jack, and these plug into your ear when you're using it. It has 2 extra ear tips. I think these are large and small. Medium come fitted automatically. And then there's a USB-C to A cable, of course, to plug it in. Side. And then in here is on one hand the headset itself. Let's unwrap that. Yep, there you go. The headset itself. Very different from the PSVR 1. I keep saying 1, there's no 1. From the PSVR from 7 years ago. And I'll show you a comparison very quickly because I have it over here somewhere. 1 cable, thank God. I'll explain later. And then you have the DualSense PSVR controllers, which is a leap compared to the PSVR that uses those little sticks with the bulbs at the end. That was really bad because you could get in the way of those sticks. Again, more about that later. So these are, I don't know, are they dedicated left and right? Can you tell? Let's see. I can't tell. I can't touch it. Okay. Okay, yeah, figured it out. Genius. So this is it. This is left and right. I guess you figured it out. And it has pluses, R2, R1, R2, yeah, L2, R2, L1, R1, triangle, square, O, and X. Now these are also capacitive touch buttons, but again, we'll talk more about that later. That's really it. You just do real-time tracking. Oh yeah, and these have very cool way of sort of slipping in your hand. You can just put your hand in there and sort of self-lock yourself in. See that? Not like that. Makes sense. So I think Sony, gets a plus for that. Am I stuck?
Looks like.
No, I'm not stuck. You go the other way to get up. And that's it. That's everything in the box. Very neatly decided. Let's put the box on the side and discuss the hardware themselves. All right, so like I said, quick comparison, right? This is the PSVR 2. It has very reminiscent design to the PSVR 1. Fundamental difference is that this, let me see, without the cable, feels, I'm guessing it is lighter. I will check the grammage exactly. No, this kind of feels lighter. But the reason why probably this feels lighter is because it has a gajillion wires you need to work with. It splits out into 2, which splits out into a box cutout, which splits out into a power unit, which splits out into 2 HDMI cables, and another weird USB micro that plugs it back into your system. It's a nightmare. It was terrible. This, on the other hand, just has 1 cable. Plug it into the front of your PS5, follow your uncle, you're done. Thank you, PlayStation. That works. I mean, what would have been ideal would be completely wireless. We can only dream, sort of like what you have with the Quest 2, right? But there are trade-offs. And this is taking advantage of that PS5 power by plugging in and being tethered. But we'll talk about the limitations of that in terms of ecosystem later on. More about the design. On the back, we're bringing back an advanced version of their head fitting button. So when you press it and you pull it, it expands to fit my big head. It's got a big head. When you put it in, and once you figure out what your size is, you lock it in, and you go with it. You can release that for the next person, yada yada blah blah. Remember I spoke about the headphones that come with it. So these guys, so they sort of plug into the jack back here. Yeah. So if I were to put it back here, it would look something like that. And then it has another clip on the side. See that? So when you wear it, these sort of dangle that way, and that goes into your ear. And when you're not using it, you can just pop these in here, pop these in there. Pretty neat package, any holes. Moving on to the front, you do have this really cool plasticky thing that it's a special polymer that's supposed to prevent sweating and slipping, and it also blocks out all light. When I tried it on the headset we have, I couldn't see a thing from the outside, no screen door, nothing. It was awesome. And it's super dark in there. And there's some minor detail which he'll probably try to show you later on camera. The printed X and O's and the PlayStation symbols basically are in there, sort of like a Easter egg. Moving on. On the top right, you have a button that adjusts the entire visor, right? So to bring it either closer or further away from your eyes. On the left, you have a knob that adjusts the spacing between the lenses, right? I think they call it IPD space or whatever. But different people have different eye, configurations. So this sort of makes sense to help you get that center point of focus for your preference. Underneath, there is a power button in the middle to turn it on, right there. And then what would be my right would be the pass-through button, because this has cameras in front, so I can just see right through in case I need to look at my controller, so I don't fall and break my neck. You can see everything, but it is in black and white, just so you know. On the other side of that is the microphones for invoice chat and activating your PlayStation the way you normally would if you need to go to a game or whatever. And I think there's a sensor in here that helps you that helps the headset know whether you're wearing it or you're not wearing it, so it knows what to display and so on. Now these, in terms of specs, these are on the market right now. These are probably the best resolution for its price. These are OLED displays, it supports HDR. It's pretty solid resolution. I think it's 2000 by 2040, which is higher than some even high-end Valve Index and so on. And it supports up to 120 Hz refresh rate, which is pretty amazing. I think Valve Index does up to 144, but it has the resolution nowhere near what this guy does, which is pretty impressive. Like I said, PlayStation's trying to take it to the next level. Let's move on to the controllers for a bit. So the controllers, like I said, they are DualSense controllers. Think about it like a controller that was split in half without the cross pad. That's without the D-pad. That's just what's missing. These are also capacitive touch, so it will help you know when your hands are folded or open in VR, so you can pick stuff up, point at people, do other gestures. Not gonna do that gesture. Know what you're thinking, Jim. Not doing it. And give a thumbs up. Thumbs up is sick. You can give a thumbs up, in game and stuff like that. And that makes it, again, more immersive, which is really cool. But what takes it a step above most VR interactive controllers is bringing what the DualSense have, which is the haptics, really good, and the force feedback, the resistance triggers. So if you're pulling a bow like Call of the Wild, or you're shooting different weapons, you can feel the weight of that weapon or string or what you're tugging at. Again, enhances your immersive sensation when you're in VR, which is what VR is supposed to be about anyway. So I think that's a great plus for them in comparison to those sticks they had on the old PSVR, that if you got in the way, it sort of stopped tracking because it was looking for those little bulbs. So it's kind of cute, but kind of ridiculous now that I think about it. So these are standard trackers. They use gyroscopes and sensors and so on. So great plus for PS, and they're light, they're comfortable. I think they work. But that's not why you're here. I'm talking about what they look like and how well they do. In terms of battery life, like everything PlayStation, these kind of suck. You will get, I've gotten about 3 hours plus at most from using these. But to be honest, should you be playing VR for more than 3 hours? I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but I don't think you should. But 3 hours is what you're gonna get. After that, you gotta charge these bad boys. Again, Sony does sell a proprietary charger that you can stick them on. but there are also other off-market brands you can buy, or you can just be cheap like me and just USB plug this thing and hope for the best. Yeah, because I'm cheap. I don't want to spend any on extra. Yeah, I'm cheap. Moving on, and that's it about battery life. But other than that, they're pretty good. Let's go to games, because that's why we bought the thing in the first place, right? Now, upon launch, it didn't do so bad. It had like 30 launch titles. A lot of them in my book, not so great, but it did have some good updates from previous games. Like, I think one of the main launch games is Call of the Mountain, I think, Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a full-fledged VR game. I mean, it takes advantage of this whole thing in terms of the screen, in terms of foveated rendering, which I should talk about before I jump into games, but not on here. Let me talk about that anyway. So what foveated rendering is it takes, because this thing has eye tracking, it takes advantage of knowing what you're looking at and enhances the pixels and quality of that image in that specific place. Sort of similar to how humans see things, how I see things right now. Because I'm looking at the camera is in full HD, it's very clear, and everything in my peripheral is sort of blurred out. And that's what this sort of tries to mimic. In game, when you're looking at an object, that object is really clear, and everything else, sort of fades slightly into the background. Some people claim they don't notice it very much. I noticed it immediately. And that's how foveated rendering works, which is really cool in my opinion. Another great game that got an update was Resident Evil Village. Already a good game, but now you can play it in VR completely end to end. I know, scary game. It is a scary game, but it's really good. I mean, like super good. You're gonna lose a lot of fingers in that game, spoiler alert. But that just adds to the immersion. It's so good, so cool, and takes full advantage of, again, of that HDR quality of that. It's probably the clearest thing you're gonna see when it comes to VR, like I said. On most platforms I've tried, from Vive to a lot of high-end VR platforms, none of them have come close to this thing in terms of quality. But games start to take a dip because, like I said, they're not that, depending on what you like. For me, I'm action, RPG, they're not that many. Even though they have 30 launch titles, there aren't that many I would say I was gonna dish out money and buy. One downside is that a lot of old games that supported VR didn't automatically port over from the PSVR 1. So it just didn't support it, which was not unfair in my book. I thought it would just upgrade some classics and let you have your library, at least 60% of your library. But if you have all that and you're moving to this, you're probably gonna lose all that, at least for what I know as of the time of making this video. Not a lot of them, in fact, very few have gotten any announcement of updating to PS5 format. That's one downside. The second downside of this is that because you're tethered to the PS5, it is for the PS5, which makes it very niche. And if you're just getting into VR and you want to try VR games casually, you wouldn't go out and buy this one because it's the best, because you still have to buy a PS5, which is almost the cost of this at about $500. So almost $1,000 plus just for a VR experience. And is that great? I don't know. You could get experiences that are way cheaper, like the Meta Quest, which is about $300 plus now and coming down. And I think there's a Quest 3 on the way. So this is probably gonna get cheaper. And you can get similar experience. Not as clear as this, not as great, but good enough to get your VR kick if you're just trying to get into VR for the first time. However, on the other end of that spectrum, if you are already a PlayStation 5 owner and you want the best in VR, this would probably be your go-to, in my opinion anyway. We can discuss it in the comments below. And that's the trade-off you need to make. You are trapped to a niche, to an ecosystem versus literally trapped, tethered to something, versus the freedom of moving around in an area and trying other things but for less quality. Now, enough of the whining. Like I said, this is pretty good. When you set this up for the first time, it does this really cool matrix thing and maps out the whole room, scans everywhere, determines your borders, and you can sort of push those boundaries to determine where your limit's gonna be, determine what you wanna look at. It's very matrix high tech. It was really awesome to look at. I'll probably show you on screen right now. And I think they thought it through. They've taken it to the next level of quality. And hopefully there's gonna be a lot of game companies that take advantage of this and start to take VR to that level where it should be and you start to feel it. And apart from Resident Evil, there's also Gran Turismo update. You get a free update if you have Gran Turismo 7, which makes it really cool because you're literally inside the car when driving with this bad boy. You can see everything, all your knobs, your dials, gives you that feel of being, well, if you're claustrophobic and you can't drive, it'll probably be bad for you. But if you're a driver like some freaks I know out there, not naming any names, Kylie, this would be great for you, because you're literally in the car, and if you have a GT29 wheel like I have, that whole immersion is almost complete because you're still seeing your hands, it's awesome. Anyway, wrapping it up, like I said, this is kind of niche. So if you're a PS5 owner and you're looking for PSVR, you're looking to get into the VR fold, this is the way to go. Well, if you can afford it. But if you're just dabbing into VR, you don't have a PS5 and you just want to try out some random games here and there, maybe this wouldn't be for you. You're probably gonna go for Quest or one of the other non-tethered headsets out there. But you will be trading off for the HDR, for the visual quality of the OLEDs that are in here versus those standards and so on. And that's it in a nutshell. That's PSVR 2. I think the games will be pretty solid. I hope they continue to support the community. There are some games you can check out, go to the channel, check out. Maybe I'll put some links if I can. But that's what I think, who it's for and who it's not for. Let me know what you guys think about PSVR 2. Is it for you? Is it not for you? You can talk about it in the comments below. That's my time. I will do some more gaming, leave some more footage here and there, and see you in the next one. Take care.